What's up, everybody? Welcome in to A to Z Sports Live on a Wednesday. I'm out at St. Thomas Sports Park as the Titans are getting ready for another OTA practice here in about 1 hour. 9:05 is when they're going to hit the practice field. But both coordinators are actually speaking to the media today around 8:30. So we'll have some coverage of those guys and those press conferences as well coming up later on this morning. And of course, coverage of our Titans training camp or Titans OTAs will be all over social media after practice ends. But Zach, we have a conversation to discuss based off of a report that came out Monday from Albert Breer of Monday Morning Quarterback from the Sports Illustrated Network. So we're going to talk about Treylon Burks and his weight issue that dated back to Arkansas last year. So we'll go through this. Is it a big deal, small deal, or no deal? That'll be interesting conversation because we've learned more about really some pre-draft concern for Treylon Burks before he became a Tennessee Titan, and we'll talk more on that. Then I've got 3 quick-hitting storylines for Titans OTA practice today that I'm hoping to see what changes from last week to this week with OTAs as we creep deeper into the summer offseason program for the Titans. And then Zach has a question for me as I go into practice after the show today. And then it is throwing shade. We always throw shade at the end of the show on Wednesday. And I just served up some fresh shade for Zach right before we went live today. So that will be interesting to have that conversation as well. So Zach, welcome in. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling here on a Wednesday on a short week.
Yeah, short week coming back from Memorial Day weekend. And, the Titans back on the practice field. It'll be interesting as we talk about our main topic today on, what they are able to achieve today and in their, off-season programs over the next several weeks, how people are looking in shape, out of shape, how they're coached, how the young guys are progressed. Malik Willis, always a storyline. So we got a ton to talk about. And we will get to that here shortly. But first, we are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We'll tweet out the YouTube link on our Twitter at A to Z Sports. You can follow us there. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like this video and also subscribe to our channel. We'll have practice videos trickling out today, this afternoon, tomorrow, and the next day as A to Z Sports has you covered digitally if you are a Tennessee Titans fan. So we've got that access for you. We'll talk about that. And that subscription to our YouTube channel will benefit you as we put out those highlights exclusively. Also on TikTok, we'll TikTok a couple of those later on in the day. For Facebook, bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring and caring is sharing here on this show. You need to share the show. More people will pile in over the next 5 to 10 minutes. And as you guys do, share the show around. We got to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed, and that is how that goes down. So on a Wednesday, on a practice day, let's get this party started.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to the A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media as we are Nashville's on-demand sports network. We go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Also hit us up on Twitter and Instagram, where you can find the links to the show. Also TikTok as well, just like Zach mentioned in the cold open. Let's gotta thank our sponsors before we go any further, because they make it happen for us and they help out you guys. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process by going to see them in Lebanon or simply at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Also, the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, plus Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plan. That's better coverage, better rates, better service. Learn more about health coverage for you at fbhp.com/ATOZ. So, Zach, a lot has been made of Treylon Burks and what he hasn't been able to do with Titans practices since he was drafted. His rookie minicamp did not go well whatsoever. He did his first rep in the first drill, then he did an inhaler, had to go inside. I didn't know if he was overheated or out of breath, out of shape, whatever it might be. Then it looked like it was okay day 2 of rookie minicamp. Then last week when he joined the veterans, all the rookies joined the veterans in OTAs, He was in and out of the locker room and practice multiple times throughout that day. And so all eyes are going to be on him today, the next opportunity the media has gotten to see Treylon Burks. And this one is after Albert Breer reported a pre-draft concern for Burks. And we'll start, this was from the Monday Morning Quarterback on this Monday, so just a couple days ago. In the quick hitting section of the column, Breer said, one name to watch as minicamps approach, Titans rookie Treylon Burks. A couple weeks ago, we went over his weight issue in the Monday afternoon quarterback and how there was some pre-draft private workouts. I also heard he labored to get through some of those pre-draft workouts, which was a red flag for certain teams. We'll see what sort of shape he's gotten himself into since. And so that hyperlink that Breer has there was to this, which was on May 17th, a few weeks ago. The case for rookie wideout Treylon Burks bears watching. He had to leave practice twice the other day, had trouble keeping his weight down through the pre-draft process. Teams heard he played in the 240s at points at Arkansas last year, checked in at 225 at the combine, but was back in the 230s for some of his private workouts. That plus his 40 time in Indy contributed to his falling out of the top group of receivers in the mind of a bunch of teams. So, Zach, we've been playing the big deal, small deal, no deal game with Treylon Burks, it seems like, ever since that rookie minicamp. But there seems like there's more to this than the guy just going through a bunch of tough visits, maybe eating well, not having or his travel schedule impacting his ability to train, and then going from combine training to football drills is very different. We understand that. But it seems like Treylon Burks and this weight issue that Albert Breer is reporting is actually something to monitor for sure.
Well, I think the issue is the first time anybody saw Treylon Burks in a Titans uniform, he was 3 words: out of shape. It was clear. It was clear to see. We got thousands of views on our YouTube and all of our digital media because you were at practice. You saw that. He was keeled over. Yeah. He was huffing and puffing. He left. So now that it trickles out prior to that teams, which they should know more about Treylon Burks than the public do, right? I mean, they're at the pro day. This is their job to figure out who they should draft. And if teams passed on Treylon Burks because of this issue, and then the first time he suits up in a professional practice uniform, he's out of shape, that confirms the concern that teams had. This is not good. This is not good for – now, it doesn't mean that it can't be changed, but doesn't this solidify that this is a problem?
Oh, it's definitely it's currently a problem. Now, Jeff Rubel brings up Eddie Lacy. I think we all remember Eddie Lacy, who was the Packers running back who was a victim of bad photo angles one day at practice. And then when he was with the Seattle Seahawks, I know that was more of a joke. But when Eddie Lacy went to the Seahawks, they had him on a diet and a weight plan that he had to consistently get under a certain weight throughout that off-season process. And Frank says he's got asthma, big guy, or Fanga. Fanga, you don't know if he has asthma or not. And I think
I'll add to Fanga, no one cares. You think we give a rip if you have asthma on 3rd and 7 and your ass is not on the field? Nobody cares.
And like, there's no way Treylon Burks could possibly be the first NFL player with asthma, right? I just read a Twitter thread about Ryan Clark, who nearly died because he had an autoimmune disease, and Denver with a high altitude almost killed him, literally. He had to go to the hospital. And so, again, and then Robert says that Tennessee heat and humidity is just different. We also have to remember that Treylon Burks is from Arkansas. If there's a state that's more humid and hotter than Tennessee, it's probably Arkansas. And thank you, Bo, on Facebook, says asthma doesn't get you fat, stuffing your face does. Now, there is a couple things. Again, I don't think we're calling Treylon Burks fat, but Albert Breer's report saying that some teams heard he crept up into the 240s during the season last year at Arkansas is pretty wild. That's a really big wide receiver. Just for conversation's sake and for extra information, Chig Okonkwo, the tight end the Titans drafted on day 3 from Maryland, his official weight is 238. And so if Treylon Burks was 225 at the combine, then he was reportedly in the 230s at some of his pre-draft private workouts, and also heard he was in his 240s at Arkansas. He's bigger or as big as the tight end the Titans drafted as well when it comes to pure weight. So that's not good. But he did play, apparently, according to this report, in the 240s at Arkansas.
Well, and I think here is the good news. We've talked a lot about the bad news over the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Treylon Burks at Arkansas is as they love to call them, student athletes.
Yes.
But now he is a professional. This is what he does. It's his job to be in shape. He has nutritionalists. He's got people around him with weight training. He's got a strength and conditioning coach. I mean, he has all of these, ways, things at his disposal to help him, prevent him from being, and this is the comp that no one likes to be comped, Kelvin Benjamin. We all know from Florida State, who played for the Panthers and played for the Buffalo Bills. That man could not keep his weight down, and because of that, he was not a very good wide receiver in the NFL. That was a first-round draft pick. So I think it's okay because Treylon Burks has everything at his disposal. The issue, Austin, is that he started his Titans career out of shape. That's on him. Yeah. There's no excuse. You play football. You don't have to do all these other stuff. You don't have to go to a cubicle. You don't have to ride around, make sales calls. That's not what your responsibility is. Your responsibility is to get in the best shape of your life and be the best athlete that you can be, to be the best football player on your football team.
And you bring up Kelvin Benjamin. The Panthers came in training camp again in practice against the Titans when he was here, when he was with the Carolina Panthers. And I remember watching him. The guy could not turn. Kelvin Benjamin was also way bigger than what Treylon Burks is right now. Kelvin Benjamin was like 6'5". He had very little agility or explosive ability because he was so big. But let's get to our question here on this, and we'll go over the Albert Breer report here in a second from Monday Morning Quarterback. But Treylon Burks' weight issue dating back to Arkansas and the pre-draft process, is this a big deal, small deal, or no deal? A big deal, small deal, or no deal for Treylon Burks having a weight issue, according to Albert Breer. But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute. I'm live from St. Thomas Sports Park, going in to see the Titans practice again at OTAs today, here in about 30 minutes or so. But the Bone and Joint Institute, that's where you should turn whenever you have an injury that creeps up or happens in life. Life happens and you get hurt, which sucks, but make sure you know where to go to and you know who to trust with your recovery. They've got the experts, the physicians, the surgeons there that know how to deal with any type of joint or bone injury that you can think of. Also, the great rehab facility to get you back to health as well, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, we are powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. They are the king of the sports book. I've got the app. Austin has the app. You should have the app. Use the promo code ATOZ200. That's ATOZ200. No spaces, all one word. $10 money line wager in Major League Baseball wins you $200 when either team hits a home run in a game. So you can get $200 off of a $10 money line wager for new users. Use the promo code ATOZ200 right there and download the BetMGM app today.
All right, A to Z Sports here live on this Wednesday. Again, I'm live at St. Thomas Sports Park going into Titans OTA practice. Here is what we were discussing this morning as the Albert Breer report came out Monday, that Treylon Burks a couple weeks ago went over his weight issue and how it was there for some of his pre-draft private workouts. Also heard he labored to get through some of those pre-draft workouts, which was a red flag for certain teams. And then on May 17th, Breer said that teams heard Burks played in the 240s at points at Arkansas, checked in at 225 at the combine, but was back up in the 230s for some of those private workouts, and then had the 4.55 40 at the NFL combine where he was at 225, mind you, too. So is it a big deal, small deal, or no deal with Burks having some of these weight issues, as Albert Breer of SI is reporting?
Well, you go to the chat, and I think we've got a lot of different answers coming our way, which is good. That means I think it justifies it's a good question. I have not seen one answer, but I've seen a lot of two answers. So Steven says small deal. John says big deal. Gator says small deal. Big Ten Jeff says small deal right now. If it continues to get worse than a big deal, that's kind of obvious. Very, very small deal from Drew. So he's not going no deal. Small from Eric and from Colin. We've got, here we go. No deal because he's a big wide receiver in general from Mark Jones. So that is our first no deal. Small deal coming in, and we've got a surplus of small deals coming in. Small-ish deal from Eric. It's a big deal from Donald. Shows that Treylon struggles to stay in shape, and that isn't a new phenomenon. Between big and small from Jason, so he's somewhere in between. Bryce says big deal, shows he doesn't care. Like Zach said, it's his job to be in shape, to be football ready. Bryce coming down. Look, your actions speak louder than words. And if you come into your job, like there's a difference of not knowing what to do because you're a rookie, right? But you can prevent being out of shape. I mean, you can do that. And I love it. And we talked about this a lot, Austin. You're like, oh, well, he's got your own trainers. We've got our own trainers. Well, Mike Vrabel said it himself. Your own trainers cannot emulate what we are going to put you through. So all the other BS excuses that it's okay, Ryan Tannehill's training by himself, that was a big deal from you when we talked about, you're saying, hey, it didn't matter that Ryan Tannehill didn't show up to voluntary OTAs. I said it was a massive deal because it doesn't show leadership. One of the things you said was he's got his own trainer. Well,
no, that's not what that's Zach. You're misunderstanding.
Emulate what you need to do.
You're misunderstanding my point. My point on the Ryan Tannehill thing. It's very different. I was not worried. Nobody's worried about Ryan Tannehill's cardiovascular shape because he's going into the 11th year of his league. He knows what is expected of him from that standpoint. My point on the Ryan Tannehill not showing up for OTAs was that they couldn't even use a damn football at that point. In phase 1 of OTAs, no football is allowed. They're just doing conditioning and weights. And so it's actually more beneficial for Ryan Tannehill to be elsewhere throwing the football on his own than being here not being
No, it definitely wasn't.
Zach, again,
your
point, I don't know, it's irrelevant for you to bring that up because it's completely different. Apples and oranges.
No, it's training. It's what Vrabel said, right? Vrabel, and this was how Vrabel talked about Treylon Burks' issue after practice 1, right? He said, well, you can't do the same thing. Guys want to train on their own. Well, Treylon Burks obviously wasn't training hard enough because it didn't take him. How long did it take him for his ass to get back in size practice 1?
Oh, I mean, he went through his first rep in the first drill before he needed to catch his breath and have the inhaler. And honestly, in the first rep, he was struggling in the middle of the first rep. Again, like I don't know why you brought up Tannehill in this to kind of get us off on a tangent and be a distraction here. But so do you say it's a big deal for Burks right now?
I do. I think it's a big deal. And I also think that it will linger. He will now have to prove that he can stay in shape. Now, can he do that? He absolutely can. Can this turn into a no deal? It absolutely can turn into a no deal. But right now, this is a big deal because he's got so much pressure on him because of A.J. Brown and because of the state of this franchise and the state of the AFC and the expectations of last year being the number 1 seed in the AFC. This year, it's a different look. And Treylon Burks was drafted in the first round to come in here and make an immediate impact. If he can't stay in shape or be on the field, he can't catch passes.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I think Paulie D says big deal because J-Rob has missed on a few personal issues with players in the past that has killed the Titans, like Vic Beasley and Isaiah Wilson.
Great comment by Paulie D. It now adds on. It adds on to the deal.
Yeah, and so MB asked, the bigger question is, why is he out of shape? Well, if we go back to the Albert Breer thing, MB, from May 17th, that teams heard Burks was playing in the 240s at point in Arkansas. He checked in at 225, was back in the 230s. So he sounds like somebody, and I'm sure everybody can relate to this a little bit, that, you have a bad weekend of drinking and going to the lake and eating food and all that, and all of a sudden you gain a few pounds. And it's hard for some people. It's hard to keep their weight, down. Just normal humans. Treylon Burks is a professional athlete now. No longer does he have that excuse, right? For some offensive linemen, Zach, you're a former Buck Ali Marpet. I don't know if you saw that guy on Memorial Day weekend, but Ali Marpet was an offensive lineman playing at 310 last year, retired, and now is looking ripped. Maybe he was the guy the opposite. He couldn't keep weight on. Some people can't keep weight off. Kadaro brings up, how big was A.J. Brown? A.J. Brown was too big this time when he came in as a rookie, but he was able to stay on the practice field and get through practice, and he was able to get himself ready to go where he had 1,000 yards in the season. So you say big deal. Zach, the only thing that is pulling me down to a small deal is the fact that at Arkansas, at times he was playing at 240, right? And what he did at Arkansas made him a first-round pick. So it showed me that in the season, at 240, he was explosive enough to put on good tape to make him a first-round pick.
Because the Titans took him because of that.
He dropped in the first round because of that.
Right?
But,
so you're
right.
That's
hold
the
on.
deal.
But still a top 20 pick, right? That's true. And Treylon Burks was mocked the entire draft process in the first round for the most part. The Titans took him at 18. We saw tons of mocks throughout the process. The Titans taking him at 26. We saw times where the Packers took him at 22 in mocks. And so
he was the last wide receiver drafted in the first round.
Sure, but he also was, of the guys of Drake London and the Ohio State players and the Alabama players, he was in Jahan Dotson from Penn State. He was always kind of the back end of that first group. And maybe it's because of the weight issue that Albert Breer said, but I think most people consensus thought his football ability had him fifth or sixth, whether it's Burks or Dotson, which I think is more of a scheme preference with the two guys. One guy's a small slot guy. The other guy in Burks is a big receiver. But I think the only reason I'm at a small deal right now is because when he was at Arkansas in the 240s, was still putting up first-round pick tape. And again, it's not good. It's absolutely a deal. There's zero reason anybody watching the show should think this is a no deal. It is a deal. But I'm going to say small deal as of right now. Also a small deal because it is June 1st. Happy June, everybody. It's June 1st. So I'm just going to say small deal for right now.
If I was Mike Vrabel after that first practice, I would have called Treylon Burks into my office. I would have told him to close the door. And he would have gotten a good old-fashioned, as Saban says, ass chewing. Because there's no reason that a 22-year-old first-round rookie should be out of shape. Ever. And there's no excuses. I almost slipped up. I don't give a damn if you're drinking, if you're partying. I don't care. You have to come in here and work. It's your responsibility. And, Paulie D brought up I think a point that I would have maybe thought would have set you over the edge the other way instead of going over to a big deal. And that is John Robinson's pressure on first round selections is through the roof. He can't mess up on a guy who stays fat.
Oh, well, in Sin City Titan, I don't understand Sin City Titan's perspective here. He says, why is the media obsessed with making something out of nothing with Treylon Burks? What do you mean? I don't know did Sin City Titan just join the show and miss the whole Albert Breer report or didn't pay attention to something that Albert Breer, who was a very connected national reporter, something is up with Treylon Burks, is that he struggles to keep his weight down. And this was something that he dealt with in Arkansas last year, playing in the 240s at some point. And then it's like he got good and slimmed down for the combine, right? There's a reason he wanted to be at 225 for the combine, to show that he could be there. And that's what he is. But then he allowed himself to creep back up into the 230s for some private workouts after the combine. So that shows you that there is a weight struggle here with what he's going through.
Well, it's like you see a lot of people when they get married, right? So they get engaged and they work their ass off to do all these different trainings to look their best on their best day. And then they realize after the honeymoon, it settles back into real life. And
Fat and happy.
you're eating hamburger helper on Wednesdays and you're not going to training. Right? The wedding is over. He got drafted. He got married to the Titans.
The combine,
you can't be eating a hamburger helper on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
It felt like the combine was the wedding, right? But and fat and happy is a thing for a reason. And I'll say this: I gained about 7 pounds on the honeymoon alone from after my wedding. But yes, that is a real thing. So can he correct it? Right? Can he get down and get back to a healthy playing weight where he can get through practices? Look, it is absolutely a deal. I just say a small deal because he was able to be, effective and be explosive and put on first-round pick tape when he was in the 240s at Arkansas.
All right, Austin, you've got 3 quick storylines to watch today live from St. Thomas Sports Park right outside the bubble. I have a task for you. It's not necessarily a question, it's a task. And then I'm curious to get your 3 storylines heading into practice today. Plus, we've got shade. So people in the chat, get prepared for shade. But I have a task for Austin Stanley because this will be not only a task today, but also next week and the following week. This is the June task. It's June 1st. This is your June task. We'll get to that task. But first, going to talk about Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where you need to go. Search inventory for your perfect make and model, whether it's a Palisade. They got 3rd row seating. It is a full-size SUV. It dominates the streets. Also, the Sonata, it's got fuel efficiency, cost effectiveness, and the Ioniq. You can order the Ioniq from Wilson County Hyundai. That is their battery-powered car. Right, screw fuel. You don't have to go to the gas station anymore. You're battery-powered, and it is cost-effective as well. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Quick trip down I-40 exit 236. Visit Payne Bone and his team today.
Don't forget, download the BetMGM app, and you can use our code ATOZ200. That's ATOZ200. And all you got to do is put a $10 moneyline wager on any Major League Baseball game today, and you're going to win $200 when either team hits a home run in that game. Simple as that. With code ATOZ200, visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued with non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire in 7 days. And for problem game support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Zach, I am curious to hear what your task is for me over the next couple of weeks.
So I think that this year, the biggest deal besides Ryan Tannehill, right? Ryan Tannehill is the biggest deal. We know that. That is the cloud hanging over this franchise. Can he be the guy to lead them to a Super Bowl? The second, I think, biggest thing on this roster is what is the progression of Caleb Farley?
Mm-hmm.
Your task is to monitor and look and see how Caleb Farley is because he's the 1st-round pick. We talk a lot about 1st-round picks. We just got done talking about this year's 1st-round pick. It's easily, I think, Caleb Farley is easily forgotten or looked over because he was drafted hurt. He wasn't expected to come out of the gates and play and be the guy because of his back surgery. And then unfortunate set of circumstances. He tore his ACL. He has 2 ACL tears, 2 back surgeries, and now this is kind of the starting of his new life. We cannot and will not forget about Caleb Farley, but I think that's my task for you over the next several weeks. Look and see how this guy switches his hips, how he backpedals, how he gets off his back leg and
drives forward. Yeah. And so I watched Caleb Farley last Tuesday during their warm-ups because he was right next to the sideline we were on. And so I was paying really close attention to his gait and his stride when he was running because they were doing some probably 70% jogs, before practice last week. And I thought he looked healthy, just taking off and jumping downfield in a good, healthy looking stride. And he was wearing sweatpants or like some type of like jogger pants, so you couldn't tell if he had a knee brace on underneath it. But Amani Hooker mentioned that he had a knee brace on during it, which is fine. He's like 7.5 months out of his ACL surgery. But I think you can tell that he looks physically bigger. Vrabel had the joke last week that he no longer looks like his jersey is hanging on a coat hanger. He's been in the weight room. He's filling it out. It looks a lot better. So, yeah, I will make sure that I will keep an eye on Caleb Farley. But as far as last week goes, it was good to see him out there participating at this point in his recovery and trying to continue to take those steps forward.
Was that a double jab? Because I heard the comment of the coat hanger comment. I actually took it as it was on the coat hanger because he hasn't been playing, but both make sense.
No, it followed his body developing because Vrabel's started the comment by saying it was wild to look at how quickly his body developed after he got healthy, because he had the back injury, which affects your ability to lift and condition, then the knee, which you have to rehab the knee before you can do other things. But once he got back, his body got into a pro athlete looking body. And then that's why he made the coat hanger comment there too. So I think so far, Caleb Farley, the progression is off to the right start.
And he needs to get to – the reason why they drafted Caleb Farley is because he was like the other two guys drafted before him. You got Patrick Surtain, the second, I believe it's not junior, it's the second.
Yes.
And then who was the other one drafted by Carolina?
Diggs.
Trayvon
Diggs.
Oh, no. Was it Diggs?
Surtain went to the Carolina Panthers and Diggs went to the Cowboys.
That's right. Those guys are aggressive safeties, right? I mean, we saw Diggs and how aggressive he is. Caleb Farley was drafted.
Joe Horn. So
that's where he was. Yeah, I was about to say because Surtain plays for the Broncos.
J.C. Horn.
J.C. Horn was drafted by the Panthers, and Diggs was in another draft class. Draft guy right there.
Just everything's running together.
But aggressive cornerback play. If Caleb Farley can be the aggressive corner that and I'll just take Patrick Surtain the second, was for Denver last year, I mean, man, that is the type of guy you want to draft. He's just had to get over all these hurdles before he's been able to, be that guy. This is his year. Now, I know he's coming off at an ACL. There will be a little bit of grace at the beginning of the season, but number 3 better be able to be that lockdown corner for years to come, or we're going to continue to criticize John Robinson for his decision-making in the first round.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, so my 3 quick storylines to watch today. The first one is Dylan Rayden. Last Tuesday, he showed up at right tackle, was taking reps there, which was good. But then we saw in the Treylon Burks touchdown video from late last week, Dylan Rayden was on the sideline during that touchdown. So that's 1 rep, but does Dylan Rayden continue to get a lot of reps and a lot of work at right tackle, or does Petit Frere start to kind of balance those reps out with him? So I think Dylan Rayden is something to watch here. Any thoughts on Dylan Rayden? I mean,
has he sobered up from Key West? That would be my.
Apparently, his bachelor party was this past weekend, but I we'll see if he's here. I mean, maybe he's not here because of that, but I would expect him to be here. But I think Dylan Rayden,
has too much to lose. He has too much to lose. Rayden's. Look, I would say Tannehill 1. Then Caleb Farley is 2. I don't know if I put Rayden's 3, but he's 4 or 5. I mean, he's right there in storylines heading into this season because isn't he the linchpin? Like, doesn't he put everything kind of together? We know what we're going to get from Lawan and Ben Jones and Nate Davis. Like, Rayden's, what he can be for this team, I think is a huge swinging point for the offensive line and the protection of 17.
Yeah, you want Dylan Rayden to be the right tackle for sure. Nate quickly asked who's been lining up at left guard. That when Ben Jones is here, which he was not out at practice Tuesday, but he was later in the week. When Ben Jones is here, Aaron Brewer and Jamarco Jones have been taking reps at left guard. When Ben Jones is not here, Aaron Brewer slides into center, and Jamarco Jones seems like he's taken left guard snaps too. That's where he has begun his Titans career, Jones. But Aaron Brewer and Jones seem to be the two guys battling out for that. I don't know how to. Left guard is going to be a concern for me, I think, until they prove that one of these two guys or somebody else can fix it. Second storyline for me, Zach, is Robert Woods. What does he look like this week after seeing him for the first time? Last week, he was still pretty careful with his knee, obviously, being that early on in his recovery. But going out there and doing drills was a big time positive for Robert Woods. But I do want to see how he continues to progress. I thought the most important thing from last week for Woods is that he practiced on Monday and then he practiced on Tuesday. Being able to go back-to-back days without, because, if it's an ACL and he goes one day and doesn't the next, maybe there was some swelling they had to deal with, some soreness. But the fact that he went back-to-back days was a big deal for me. And so I'm curious to see what he looks like again this week.
I loved how Robert Woods said the Titans are holding him back. He wants to run free. I mean, he wants this. Robert Woods is a leader by example, leader in the locker room. Everything that we know about what Robert Woods represented for the Rams over the last several seasons, he's bringing that to Tennessee, and I think he's going to be just fine. He's going to come out of the gates just fine. He wants this. And I think to that point, the back-to-back days, I think that shows that he wants this. The videos that I watched, he did look good. He looked smooth. He didn't look like he was favoring anything. I liked what I saw from Robert Woods.
I mean, he definitely is. You can tell when he cuts off the left knee that he is taking care and being more intentional with how he goes through that cut. But again, for being 6.5 months out, Robert Woods looks really, really good for where he's at. So my last storyline to watch today is simply, do any of the guys who missed last week, are they back? And how does that impact the trickle-down effect after that? Because a lot of big-name, big-money players on the defense were not here last week. And, it's Big Jeff, who is going into his fourth year, was not here. But then you had the big second contract guys like Bud Dupree, Harold Landry, Zach Cunningham, Kevin Byard, Danico Autry. Those guys were not here. And for Kevin Byard specifically, when he was not there, that meant a lot of opportunity for Theo Jackson, the 6th-round rookie. And so my thought on Theo Jackson getting a lot of high-quality reps, Zach, was I don't know if he's the only option they have after Byard right now, or if he's really progressing that well in the classroom side of things, picking up the scheme. Because, if Kevin Byard comes back and Theo Jackson is working behind Byard, that's another thing. But Theo Jackson got a lot of reps last week with Byard not here. So I'm curious to see how that develops.
Yeah, and as you said, I mean, Dupree, Simmons, Byard, I mean, there was a handful of – and there were Landry. They're defensive
Zach
players,
Cunningham.
right?
Yeah, all these big guys. Yeah, I mean, that's like the top 5 or 6 defensive players they have.
And besides Derrick Henry, that's the best part of their team is their defense.
Derrick Henry also wasn't here. So you could make the case that their top, 6 or 7 players were not here.
So yeah, I think that is something to keep an eye on. See who returns. They've now had several days to get back to whether it's Nashville or wherever they were training to get back with the team over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and obviously I want to see what Malik Willis looks like too, right? Like that's going to be a storyline every day. The Titans media gets to go watch practice. Is what does Malik Willis look like? Last week, he was learning some drills, and, he was working through that. Tannehill was helping him out, but, how does he learn the drills and does he gain more confidence each week that we get to see him, which I expect that to happen. Bobby asked, where's Derrick Henry been? He's been in Dallas putting out Instagram content that everybody drills over every week. So there should be zero issues or concerns about Derrick Henry. I'm sure he'll be back for mandatory minicamp here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Austin, it's time to throw shade before you go to practice. Practice starts right around 9 o'clock, so we're gonna get in, get out, and do a little shade before you go. But first, I am going to tell you guys about Farm Bureau Health Plans. FBHP.com is where to go. Look, FBHP.com/A to Z helped me last week. I was down with the flu. I was sick as a dog, 103 temperature for about 12 to 18 hours. It was Ms. Let me tell you. I had a teledoc conference and it was free. I didn't have to pay anything. There's nothing worse than when you got 103-degree fever and then they're asking you for your credit card information. Well, that wasn't the case because they didn't ask me because I didn't have to pay anything because it's a part of my plan. It's a part of my coverage. I got the medicine I needed and now I'm back ready to go this week. I'm glad I put the flu behind me, but Farm Bureau Health Plans helped me. My health plan actually helped me. It can help you. I just switched this year, so you can switch this year as well. Better coverage, better rates, better service. Over 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. Go to fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Download the BetMGM app today. Use our code ATOZ200. That's ATOZ200. All you got to do is place a $10 moneyline wager on any Major League Baseball game today for new users. And then you're going to win $200 when either team in that game hits a home run. It's a great way to start your BetMGM life and your BetMGM career. Zach and I love the app. We use it almost every day. I can't wait for the NBA Finals to get going tomorrow night as well. But today, new users, that's code ATOZ200. You place a $10 moneyline wager on any baseball game today in the major leagues, and you win $200 when either team hits a home run. Time to throw some shade. Throwing shade every Wednesday here on the show, and throughout the show, I have lost my shade. I tried to strategically place myself in a shade tree in the parking lot at St. Thomas Sports Park, and the sun moves, so I lost part of my shade throughout the show.
No, it doesn't.
Well,
we move.
We moved. You're right. We moved. The sun moves in my life, but you're right. I actually corrected somebody on that like last week, being just like being that guy, and then you just that guyed me right back. So I guess that's karma, right? But throwing shade here on this Wednesday.
Do you know how fast we move?
Very fast.
We move about 800 miles per hour. So if we stopped, it would be chaos.
That is true. That is true. All right. Shade. Let's see. Jake says shade on Zach for putting Austin in the heat and sitting his big butt in the AC. No, this is my decision. This is my decision to come do this. And I actually enjoy it. I've been standing for the last 45 minutes, but that's okay. But I actually like doing this out here because I get to go into practice here in about 15 minutes when they start. Jeff says shade on himself. He caught COVID. It's not your fault, Jeff. It just happens, people. Lucas says flat earthers are his shade. Mark says shade at all the media that always has only negative takes on the Titans. They clearly don't know the team, and all they do is add motivation. Okay, I fine there. Bobby says my shade is on the people who get obsessively attached to an undrafted free agent receiver in OTAs. There's like a 99% chance they won't even make the roster. That's something that the Titans media always laughs about and jokes about during this time of year of who becomes the fan favorite. Right now, Mason Kinsey and Kyle Phillips immediately are the fan favorite. Caesar says shade on Vrabel for never telling us the fans' truth, telling us, the fans, he says, the truth about issues with Titans players. I think that's legitimate there, Caesar, because how much different would this Treylon Burks storyline be if Vrabel said what's happening, or if Treylon Burks spoke to the media to tell his side of what's happening, right? Because that's the thing.
Shouldn't Burks speak? Burks has not spoken.
No, and that's what Buck and I talked about this. Rookie minicamp, he did not speak Friday. That's when he left after the first rep, right? Saturday, he got through practice from what I was told because I was not there. But Buck mentioned that the plan was for Burks to talk after that Saturday rookie minicamp, and then some point during the practice, they ex-nayed that. They decided to cancel that, and he has still not talked we were allowed to get players walking off the field today after practice. And last Tuesday, the same thing, but Burks was inside and he wasn't available to us. And also, guys who are injured are technically not allowed to talk. So, no Robert Woods, no Caleb Farley, no Christian Fulton. Guys who wear the yellow jerseys aren't allowed to talk either. But yes, I agree with Caesar. If somebody just talked or Burks just talked, then a lot of this stuff wouldn't be as big as it is.
Yeah, a lot of times, and this is NFL franchise in general, is the less you say, the worse it is. And that it's the job of the PR team to understand that and to relay. Now, ultimately, Vrabel has the decision on what he wants to say. He's going to do what he's going to do. But that's the strategy behind the PR of, bending what the narrative. But it's essentially, that's what it is.
When Jay says maybe he wants to block everything out and stay focused, did you ever guys think of that? I mean, yeah, maybe that's true of Burks. Maybe that's true of Vrabel as well. But again,
your first round no, wrong. Your first round draft pick of an NFL franchise in 2022. You have to speak. It's your responsibility. You don't get, you don't get just, that's not how this works. So you cannot hitch your wagon just to the player. The player has got to speak. We have to ask him questions. As media members, we've got to ask, are you in shape? What did you do to get out of shape? Do you have asthma? These are type of questions. Don't you think you'd want to know as fans? I'll go ahead and answer that. Yes, because we've gotten them.
Yeah. Well, and Yogi says media should stop making assumptions. Well, everybody makes assumptions. You're forced to make assumptions when you're not being transparent, when people aren't being transparent with you. And my favorite example of this is former Vandy head coach Derek Mason. His first game ever as a head coach, he made a quarterback change after the first quarter. And everybody's like, oh, what's going on? I thought you were sticking with your guy the whole offseason. You said this is your guy, and you make a quarterback change. And after the game, he basically said, I went with what I thought would give us a better chance. And you're like, he confused everybody with that. And then it came out a few weeks later that the quarterback had a concussion. And so if he would have just said, yeah, he got a concussion or was showing concussion-like symptoms, everybody goes, oh, okay. And like we're understanding people. Like human beings typically are understanding of reasons or explanations when we're told that.
Well, there were nuance to that because as a coach, you also you want to protect your player, but you also want him to play. And by disclosing that he had a concussion, now people are going to be writing about that. And maybe the protocol is more difficult and you don't have him at the beginning of the season. There's so much nuance that you have to take into consideration.
Yeah, but the way concussions are dealt with, like they pulled him because he needed to go in concussion protocol. So say that it looked like he needed to go in concussion protocol. We'll continue to do tests to see what happens. Transparency clears issues. Lack of transparency creates assumptions. I will always say that when it comes to injured players, always. Because you can go to James Neal and Philip Forsberg, who had broken bones on their body, playing in the playoffs for the Preds, but nobody knew until after the fact. And so you're dogging on guys for playing like crap when they have like a broken wrist. And so again, it's lack of transparency creates issues.
All right, let's go to a couple more shades, and then we'll get to your shade and my shade. Eric says, shade on the cashier that gives you 99 cents back when the total is $10.01, and you give them $11. It is a tough scene because I don't like change. Nobody likes change. Nobody likes to carry around change. And you just kind of want that penny. Usually they'll do it for a penny. When you get into like 13 cents, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
I use cash for stuff like that.
Right. You want to go ahead with your shade?
I'll let you go first.
All right. Well, my shade has to do with you. Pre-show, Austin broke his phone. You want to show the fine folks what your phone looks like? Crack, snap, crackle, pop, and we ain't eating cereal. So he dropped it, and I saw his reaction, and it was a reaction of something happened. Like I was like something more. It wasn't like a oh shucks, I dropped my pen. It was like a your brain was thinking like, oh no, this is bad. And then he showed it to me and I go, do you not have a case on your phone? And his response was, I haven't had a case for 8 months. And I go, I have nothing for you. My shade is for fools that don't have cases on their phones, and then their phone breaks or cracks, and they're mad or upset, which they should be, that they're mad or upset.
Was I mad or upset? I mean, I thought.
Are you upset that your phone's broken?
I mean, I'm bummed out about it. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have bloody fingers. But again, like, did I react inappropriately? I thought I held my cool pretty well through this. Did I not?
Right, but it's because it's your own fault.
Sure, and I understand that, and like, I didn't blame anything else. It's my fault. I said it. Like, again, like, I thought I handled myself with a pretty calm presence for somebody who just broke their phone. Like, I did not cuss. I did not yell. I just said,
why did your phone break?
Oh, because I didn't have a case. Again, like, I understand that. And it broke. So
my shade is for people that don't have cases on their phones. It makes no sense.
And Yogi is right. My phone is a dinosaur. My phone is over 4 years old now, and I was always going to get a new phone.
Doesn't matter. You weren't going to get a new phone today or tomorrow.
Well, now I was honestly kind of needing a reason for it. I thought it was going to be Steve Jobs, and Apple just kind of screwing me over like that.
But justify it because
it was my fault. No, I'm not justifying it. But yeah, the plan. This is a 4+ year old phone. The plan was to get a new phone later on, like this month in June. Yeah.
So here's my suggestion: when you get a new phone, get a new case.
I will
get a case. Excuse me.
Well, the reason why I had a case for the first 3 years of having this phone. The reason why I no longer have a case is because my case broke. And so I didn't buy a new case because I'd said I don't want a new case and I'd rather just get a new phone. And so I didn't want to buy a new case.
That's my shade. It is idiotic not to have a case on your $1,000. It's the most expensive thing that you probably have that you carry on you consistently, correct?
I mean, that I carry because I don't carry my car with me, but yes, I mean it's up there. Yeah, for sure.
Why won't you protect it with a case? You get an OtterBox. I'll give you an example. You get an OtterBox, and they're not paying me anything to say this. You don't have to worry about this.
That's fine, Zach. I made the decision 10 months ago that I did not want to have a case moving forward. And I enjoyed that until I made a stupid decision by having my phone on top of the tripod with my computer. I moved it and it fell. That's my fault. That's user error. It's not the phone's fault. So again, right, it's totally fair shade that I just teed up for you. My shade. Apparently, there's this thing that happens every year around this time where parents buy their little kids bunny rabbits, like real life bunny rabbits for Easter. And then when the Easter season is over, they dump those bunny rabbits into the wild thinking that that's where they want to be. That's not the type of bunny rabbit you bought your 5-year-old son or daughter. And so now there what looks to be a pet bunny living on my block that is not a wild rabbit. And it's like, what are you people thinking of dumping pet bunny rabbits out into what they think they want to be? They are supposed to be pets. They are not wild rabbits. You cannot put them out in the woods behind your house and expect them to survive. So that is my shade. It is bullshit. It is everything. It's ridiculous. And it's terrible about why people do that. I don't understand it. I don't understand how people think that's logical. So that is my shade.
I didn't even know that was a thing, to be honest. I didn't know it was a thing to buy rabbits for kids.
Easter. And I can't, people are saying adopt the rabbit. I can't adopt the rabbit because I have 2 dogs that will think that rabbit's a squeaky toy. I can't do anything with it. So there's nothing I can do, but it's terrible human beings doing stupid ass things that make my blood boil. But that's my shade today. I think we've had a great show today. I broke my phone, which sucks, but I'm going to deal with that later on this week, I'm sure. But we will see you guys tomorrow on a Thursday, reacting to what I see in practice here in about 10 minutes. So see you guys later on. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Adios.